Hi, everybody. So I've got Whit with me today, and we're going to talk about our travels because we've just had a little bit of travel. Whit is traveling. She's obviously in a very fancy place with a very nice plant behind her. I love that
Yes,
plant. Is it real?
it's not,
Oh,
unfortunately.
bummer.
I mean, it looks so
It
nice and I
does.
love using it as a backdrop, but yeah, it's all the plants in the place that I'm staying are fake. I'm like,
Oh,
oh man, I would love it if they were all real and I'll water them for you. I don't care.
yeah. Yeah, that would be so cool. And
Yeah, yeah.
then we're also going to talk about how to allow things versus need things. And Whit had a huge download, so we're going to share that. And then there's some communications that have come out recently that I've been like piecing together. We're going to talk about too. So we have a lot of fun stuff coming
Yes.
in this
So many
show.
fun things.
Yes. So Whit just did another big trip. So
Mhm.
tell us about that.
Yes. So I guess to start, the past like 3 months, I was in Colorado in different towns, jumping around, and
Mhm.
I kind of got this push to go out west. Specifically, I knew at some point I'd be visiting Mount Shasta. I've always wanted to go there, and I was like, okay, when do I go? When do I go? I was actually on a day adventure with Honey, and we happened to go to this one diner that Honey suggested. And what was there, like on the posters and the like placemat that was on the table, was Mount Shasta. And I was like, Honey, and I had not told Honey ahead of time that I'd been like, waiting, kind of put it out to the universe. So show me a sign if now's the time to do it. And all of a sudden was like, so I was like,
Yeah.
all right, now's the time. So yeah, that I'm in Southern Oregon is where I'm staying, but it's like an hour and a half from Mount Shasta. So last weekend I went and I spent some time with the mountain and the beings and the energies there. And yes, it was quite the experience. I have some photos that I
Oh,
can
fun.
share if people are interested in seeing those. I just have a few. Let's see here. All right, let me know if you can see that.
I see it.
Woo!
Oh, look how
Okay.
snowy. Love it.
Yes. So obviously, like, it's winter time. If you go there at a different time of year, you're probably going to experience the mountain that looks different than this. But I actually, like I said, like I felt like now was the time for me to go. And so I was like, all right, snowshoes it is. So rented some snowshoes and got some poles, and even though snow pants are rented, like, there's actually, if anyone goes in the wintertime, there's a place called Sports Den or Sports something, Sportsman Den. And all of that, like the poles, the snowshoes, the snow pants were like $30 for the whole day. So
Nice.
yeah, super accessible. And then you can traipse around, in deep, deep, deep snow. Like this stuff, I think the guy that was talking to me about it was like, he's like, yeah, some of these spots have like 10 feet of snow that we're walking on top of right now. And I was like, whoa. So
Yeah.
yeah, there I am, bright, sunny day. I ended up opting for a guide to kind of guide me around certain areas that knew where some of the vortexes were and some of the more kind of higher frequency energies, things like that. And so I was like, you know what? I'll do that. And I just kind of picked one that I felt drawn to. And he was so lovely, I'll have to say. He had done his own work with the mountain and the energies there for like 2 years, and then for the past 5 years was then leading people. He was so respectful. I remember before we even started, he's like, let's just take a moment and like ground in, kind of bring this calm energy in. And then it was just giving a lot of gratitude to the land and the animals there and the beings there. So it felt to me, that felt so good. Like we weren't just like coming in being like, here we are. It was
Hmm.
very respectful and it felt like we were walking alongside instead of traipsing over. Um, so that was really great for me. Um, Let me see if I can go to the next photo. We stopped by, we were actually in what he would describe, other people might describe it something else, as like a vortex area right at this point. And we decided to sit, put some crystals out, do some meditating, that type of thing. And so you could see my little handprint in the snow with the crystals sitting there. And yeah, it was really beautiful. I know everybody kind of has different feelings um for this type of experience. Some people are really, really sensitive. And so if they're in this vortex kind of energy, they're going to feel a lot of intensity in their body. I actually was feeling pretty chill, as you can see in this photo. I'm sitting in the snow, I'm meditating. I wasn't getting any like heightened feelings in my body at this point. I was pretty calm. Um and yeah, this other side of, so this rock in particular meant something specific to the guy who was guiding me. I don't remember what he called it. Um, there was a specific name for it, but this is the other side of the rock. So as you can see, on the other side, it looks like a small rock, but on this side, it's massive. So
Mm-hmm.
I just put my head up against it and, was taking it in and really kind of the way I like to do this type of thing is bring as much calm as I can. There's like kind of this excited energy too of like, I just want to like skip around the forest and everything. Um, but I was doing my best to kind of have this calm energy. So that was fun. Um, and this is right before I left the mountain. So like where we were before was kind of like maybe midway up and we were just kind of, in the forest. And this is at the more towards the top of where, a car could drive. And then after that, it's all on foot.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when things started to shift a little bit for me. There's a lot of I've had someone in my life describe it as really powerful medicine on the mountain. There's other ways to put it, really heightened frequency, really intense energy. There's so many different ways to talk about it. So I was kind of just chilling, whatever. And it got to around this point, right before I was about to leave, where all of a sudden this big emotional purging began to happen. And, I won't get into specifics of what my experience was like, but just allowing what the mountain kind of was bringing up for me was so important in that moment. And I feel like that was why my higher self was guiding me right then. Be like, hey, Whit, it's time to let this stuff go. It's time to bring this stuff up. We're going to hit it hard. Here it comes. So this is me right before the emotional purging ended up starting. Um, and I will say too that, during the purging, I wasn't maybe in the most joyful state. But I would say now looking back, I am so incredibly grateful because that stuff was in there. That stuff was, in different parts of me, in ways that my subconscious, was like hiding and things. And so I'm so glad that that Band-Aid got ripped off and I was allowed to move through it. So yeah, that was my Mount Shasta experience. It definitely, I do my best not to go in with any expectations, but inevitably if you've talked to people about an area like that, you're going to kind of have some ideas in your head of what could happen. Um, and I think everybody kind of has a different experience because everybody's got different things that they're working through. So I'm really curious if I were to go back, what would my experience be like the second time, the third time, that type of thing. But my first time, that was it. That was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes when we encounter that medicine or higher frequency, the first thing we have to do is let go of stuff that isn't compatible to it.
Yeah.
And then we actually start to enjoy it more. Like the
Mhm.
frequencies start to get more fun, I
Yeah.
guess I'll say.
Yeah.
So it would probably be more fun next time, and
Hmm.
gradually more and more fun and more enlightening. And
Yeah.
that's just how life works. And also like if you're taking plant medicine, that's how it works too.
Yeah, definitely.
So ayahuasca and stuff like that.
Yes.
Um, Mine was really, I don't have any pictures because I was so overwhelmed.
Yeah, yeah. You hit a lot,
So
yeah.
it was like, the crystal show, and the crystals had so much impact on our bodies, I feel like, when we were in there, because we are pretty sensitive, the three of us ladies that were there shopping.
Yeah.
And some of the shops felt really sad. Like the crystals were like, they weren't loved. They were only there for money,
Yeah.
to be created. Um, and then some of them were so happy.
Yeah.
So it just really depended. We met a great guy who one of the ladies bought, one of my friends bought like this beautiful rock that had a carved bird on top of it.
Hmm.
And that guy was so happy. He loved his work. It was a generational like project. His dad did
Hmm.
it first. So it was just all about joy in there. And I just told him, like, you have the best vibe.
Aw.
So, all of his stuff was so happy
Yeah.
and grateful, to be touched by him and everything. But a lot of it was kind of in the middle.
Sure.
Um, and we ended up in this one shop because I love to make jewelry. So I've made,
Hmm.
these are things that I've made, and um just having the beads was really exciting. So that's where
Yes.
the majority of my money went, was to gemstone beads. And
Yes.
I was so excited to bring them home and hope that I carve out time, which I will, to make
Yes.
stuff. But that was a lot of fun. The drive home was really tiring because it was so long.
Hmm.
And the drive down was really magical because I was seeing things like I knew, and I don't know if this is called clear cognizance. I think so, but like certain mountains, I knew what was underneath them. I knew there was crystal
Yeah.
cities there. I knew that that was a petrified dragon. Passed a whole family of them.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I had a time slip too because I was going to get gas. And I've talked about this one already, but basically there was this little town. So I knew it was coming. So I get on my other phone because I have a work phone and a personal phone. And I got on that, and I said gas station, and like
Hmm.
2 or 3 gas stations popped up. So I get off on the exit, and there's no town. And it's like, it looked like an 1800s ghost town,
Wow.
with all the little metal roofs and dilapidated, and could have fallen down at any time. And
Hmm.
there was like this 1950s camper behind this fence, and that's all that was there. And I thought, well, and then I turned my head to see if I could go under the freeway and go.
Uh-huh.
Maybe that was just not the town. Maybe the town was
Yeah.
to the left.
Yeah.
That was all overgrown.
Huh.
So I was like, okay, not getting gas here. And then I
Nope.
left. But I was like, that was really strange.
So weird.
So weird. Yeah. Um, and then when we got there, Erin, who I will say her name because she's in some of my videos,
Hmm.
she called down a ship, and it uncloaked, and we got to watch the ship out of the back of our Airbnb. So
That's
that
so
was a lot of
cool.
fun. Yeah.
Ah!
So we had a lot of activation time, and I think the crystal show, which we didn't even see the majority of it
Yeah.
because it was so big. Um,
Hmm.
I feel like that was almost like overload of
Yeah.
activations. So our energy interacting with the crystals was like a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was interesting. And I felt really pretty good, but we were all pretty exhausted the next day.
Mm-hmm.
from it. So we were like, well, we can't go back. It's just too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those, like, you went, you got what you needed. Okay, now let's just connect in our Airbnb or,
Yeah. So the next day it went by so fast. It was crazy how fast it went by. We all
hmm
had projects that were planned for the stuff that we purchased, and we had a really good time. But the last day went by so quick, which was kind of weird. So time is not really normal at all anymore, and I'm not counting on it being normal either. Um,
Mm,
so anyway, that was my
yes.
latest trip.
We were on different adventures around the same time, just like,
Yeah.
woo.
Yeah, it was big. And I don't think we realized like how much that impacts us to go on a trip, even if
hmm
it's a fairly short one. Like mine was, I think altogether 4 days,
hmm
5 days maybe. Um, and the travel down was great. The travel home, I was just like so tired. I took one of those 5-hour energy B vitamin things.
Uh-huh.
And I definitely think that wore me out the next day,
Yeah.
made me more tired. But it got me through getting home because
Right.
that was a long
It's a
drive.
long drive. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then when the snow started, I was actually like, okay, I'm awake now. I have to pay attention, you know. So that was
Yep.
good. But
Yep.
yeah, it was fun. I had a lot of
Wow.
fun.
Yes. I enjoy going and seeing new places and new things. And even if it's not kind of what I was anticipating or what I was even in my awareness of what could happen, I'm like, you know what? Now I have this story, now I have this experience, and the next experience will be different. So, yeah.
Yeah.
What cool things. I'm curious too if anybody watching has been to the Gem Show or you've been to Mount Shasta. What was your experiences like? I want to hear
Yeah.
because
I would love to hear that too. Because we had planned to shop every day that we were there, three
yeah,
days
I
in a
remember
row.
you were like, we're gonna hit it every day.
Yeah. And I'm like, nope, we got that second day in because the first day we were all kind of late getting there.
hmm
And we just ended up having like coffee outside in a very loud environment. And then
hmm
we're like, let's just go back to the Airbnb,
Yeah, yeah.
you know? So we just kind of stuck around the house that first night, and then the next day was a big shopping day, but we're like, ooh, we're tired. So by
Yeah.
6 o'clock, we were just done. We had
hmm
4 hours, I think, at the Rock and
Wow.
Gem Show.
4
Yeah.
hours was perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was plenty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness.
So tell us about your download. I think this is really good because this is important
Yes.
for people.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, um, I actually wrote it on my phone because it was a lot and I don't want to miss anything. And typically when I get downloads, um, I mean, most of the time they're for me and then maybe I'll share with a few other people and that's it. This one was like, more people need to hear this right now. I was like, okay, honey, do you want to chat about this
Yes.
online so people can hear it? So this is why I'm doing that. Also, for me, always with the idea that anything I talk about, please you tune into it yourself and see what you get. Because
Hmm.
your perspective is important too, and whatever you're getting about these certain topics is valid and important too. So that's what I'm gonna say about that. Um, okay. The word and the frequency of need came through pretty strong with this download. And there's a few different things that kind of came through, and so I'm gonna kind of just go through it so I don't miss anything. Um, so it's the word itself, first of all, the energy around that is kind of this like pressury energy and this urgency energy and this kind of like do it now energy. And it's tight to me, the visual I get is like this tightly wound ball and this it's tight and it's kind of there's resistance to it as well. When I like
Yeah.
really was starting to unwind that ball a little bit and I was feeling into it, there is this resistance when using the word need. And first of all, I guess to back up even just a little bit, from my perspective, no one actually needs to do anything. Like, um, there's this kind of speak in around ascension and spirituality and energy movements and things like that around we need to go within, we need to heal, we need. And it's kind of this, again, that urgency feeling, that pressure feeling. And when you really pull out about it and you kind of look with more of a bird's eye view, no one actually is needing to do any of those things. Um, and another thing that really came through strongly that is added on to this is your value as a being, as a soul, as a human consciousness does not increase or decrease with what you do, with your action. And your love from source does not increase or decrease based on what you do.
Mhm.
That came through so strong. Like, and I think intellectually we can understand that, like, oh yeah, my value stays the same and my, I'm loved just the same. And then in practice, sometimes we kind of go down these loops of like, oh, well, I'm doing more healing right now, so I'm like doing better than this person, or I'm, I you know, I love myself more when I'm doing XYZ. And so that type of thinking isn't necessarily in line with source energy and with what actually exists as far as how source views you as a being.
Mhm.
That is my perspective on that. And so the need energy feels like it's directly contradicting that message from source, where it's like, instead of saying need, because then I kind of was inquiring further. I'm like, okay, if need isn't quite it, what is? And what I got was an allowance and an invitation. So choices, like we talk about choices all the time, like you have a choice to do this, choice to do that, but really allowing that choice to be on the table for not just yourself, but for everyone else.
Mhm.
So even if someone else is making a choice, you're like, that doesn't seem healthy or that doesn't seem whatever, right? That's still their choice and that's still their path. And not putting the pressure on them that they need to make a different choice then takes the pressure off, takes the resistance off. And then that person might actually choose something different because that resistant energy isn't there.
Mhm.
So there's a lot there. I just kind of went rogue off my notes because I was like, all of a sudden I was like, woo, here it
Yeah.
comes. Um, but it's the allowance. It is the invitation and also trusting that everyone is exactly where they need to be right now in this moment. And I was thinking about that further of like, what does it look like to trust someone and not put that need on them or not put the need on self? And for me, it's really like the contracts that are all there for us that we're kind of working through right now. I don't know what Honey's contracts are. I don't know what Joe Schmo's contracts are. They might be living out that contract, and they probably are exactly the way that their higher self was meaning for them to do it, so they could list, they could learn, and they could move through certain things. And so for me to put that need on them, like you need to be doing this right now, could potentially be, you know, being a little wonky with their contracts. Like who am I to tell someone else you need to be doing what I'm doing right now, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of, those are the big messages that came through. and and some of the questions that kind of ended that download was, what type of frequency and energy do we want to put out there? do we want to put out pressure and urgency, or do we want one of allowance and trust and flow? And then to take it a step further, what does that actually look like in practice? And everyone's going to be different, right? Everyone's going to kind of decide to take those and act in ways that suit them. But those are the questions that I've been pondering the past couple of weeks of like, okay, when I'm trusting and I'm allowing someone to make their own decisions and choices and heal or not, or go within or not,
Mhm.
how do I show up in connection with them in ways that allow that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of a lot. And thank you, honey, for allowing me to just get it all out.
No, it's
Um,
really good. Like that's something you could listen to twice just to really get it or to really understand it. And I'm going to add to it.
yes, this is exactly what I love is Honey's going to add her perspective. Hopefully whoever else is listening to this is going to add their perspective in the
Yes.
comments. And again, the puzzle pieces, we're all connecting and making it a bigger picture. So I'd love to hear.
Okay. So what comes in for me is that we all came, like, think of us as little stars. So we're these little stars. We have a God spark within us, and everybody has roles that they've chosen to play. And even if you're in one of those roles where you're basically playing out the Hunger Games on an alternate Earth, that's the role that you chose. And it's okay, because we may need that contrast for further learning when we're in the being universe. We may say, ooh, look what they, look at that. That feels like something we don't want to participate in anymore. We don't want to create contracts for that anymore. Um, that might be something that we look back on, you
Yeah.
know. Whatever it is, it's a piece of the puzzle that is part of what we're doing. So to
Mm-hmm.
be grateful to them for whatever choices that they're making and take out the judgment.
Yep.
So when you're judging someone, you're judging another spark of the same being.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurts you too a little bit. Feels a little pinch,
Yep.
when you're judging. So just letting go of the judgment and saying, well, maybe that's their role. And if you're not attached emotionally to them, then it's much easier, because maybe it's a lot of times it's parents and children. This comes up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents, love them, but they used to worry all the time. So, okay, I'm worried about you going on that trip. Are you going to be okay? Do you have all the stuff? Are your tires good? Are your, like all this worry energy is being created. And I remember when we had the conversation, I'm like, stop worrying about me. You're putting it out into the universe that something's going to happen. So
Yeah.
letting go of control over people is really important, because if you loosen it up, then they're going to flow better too. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how thought forms affect other people. And I think that's a good example, because parents tend to do that because they've been taught to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it actually creates a smallness in the child.
Yep.
So, or whoever you're doing it with, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there's certain words that really don't resonate anymore. One of them is need, one of them is worry, and one of them is should.
Mm.
you know Telling someone they should is a really like dirty word, right? So it's kind of letting go of control and letting people do what they're supposed to be doing, and also allowing yourself to do what you came here to do,
Mm-hmm.
and letting go of the judgment and just kind of flowing with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was, oh, and also I want to talk about grounding things into reality.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, on another note,
Pivot.
Yes. Your soul is guiding you around, right? Giving you intuition, giving you clues, and showing you the way. And one of the things that we're grounding into this reality right now is abundance.
Mhm.
And if you think about it, your soul is giving you a clue that's going to help you live your best life. And basically, we're like in the, I don't want to call it a I want to call it a learning game. So
Mhm.
we're in a learning game. Earth is the hardest learning game it has been. So now we're going to go into a more fun learning game.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is going to be versus being in the classroom and stuck listening to somebody boring for
Yeah.
the whole day versus going outside, playing with blocks, learning how to do fun stuff with your friends, and basically just being free in nature. Okay.
Mhm.
So we're going to go from the classroom to being free in nature. But when you ground an idea that you're being given from the astral into this reality, you're making it real. So when you're feeling that abundance within you and you're loving it and you're feeling like my bare feet are walking on the land where I'm going to create a healing center, my bare feet are walking, here or there. I'm feeling the energy of helping the animals. I'm feeling whatever it is that you're guided for.
Mhm.
And it may just be to meditate in nature and to emote beautiful energy. Whatever
Mhm.
it is, you're being guided from your soul. And it's basically messages to help things go forward.
Mhm.
So the more we can do that, the better. But I also wanted to talk about some of the things that are clues right now.
Yes. What are you seeing, honey?
So these are kind of fun. So there's a few comms that have come out, and I'm going to try and say this in a YouTube friendly way.
Yeah.
But, so Taylor Swift was at the Super Bowl and she did not perform. So the Swift system did not perform. It's out. And there was also a clock. And I talked about this a little bit with Lisa, but there was a clock. Usher had a clock. So time is up. And a lot of things changed starting on Monday. There was like a series of events that started the next day after the Super Bowl. Um, Europe also is getting instant transactions. So instant banking transactions are being made a law in Europe, which is very quantum.
Mm.
Yeah. And then we also have BRICS coming out in the news. And I think that was in Europe too. I did share it on Telegram. But
Mhm.
the description of what BRICS is starting to get out into the mainstream. So BRICS is the foundation for the new quantum system. Also, XRP is being talked about in many circles
Yeah.
and is going to be the new means of exchange between countries. So the things that we've been focused on for abundance are
Mhm.
beginning to roll forward. So
Mhm.
let's keep them rolling. That's my attitude. Like, I'm going
Let's
to keep
keep it.
feeling how awesome that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. It's so exciting when not only are we like feeling it in our bodies and walking the land and envisioning these things, but then you start seeing the pieces
Mhm.
falling into place in ways that you're seeing in the news and in articles and even just people who live in different parts of the world saying, hey, this is what we're experiencing over here and this is what's going on. And you're like, it's all coming together.
Yeah. It's coming together so beautifully right now. And
Mhm.
my husband was talking about Mr. B. So he has a job where he drives a lot.
Mhm.
And one of the only channels that comes through is a news channel that nobody likes. Like it's very rude, right?
Sure, sure.
And I won't say the name of it because I can't remember actually, but anyway, they were talking about Mr. B's cognizance
Mm,
yesterday. And I was like, really? I just had a show that I did with Lisa and we talked about how are they going to get rid of him? And it was about cognizance. That's what came in. So
mm,
just, you can also feel that like, ooh, his cognizance is so bad. No wonder they had to get rid of him and bring it
mhm,
into the present moment.
mhm,
These thought forms, you can affect things in a positive or negative way. You can put out thoughts that are going to be maybe a little harsh, or you can say, ooh, I'm so grateful for that. Grateful is more powerful.
mhm,
So if you're like, oh, I'm so glad he's gone and things are falling apart, and that system is going to shrink down to small. So the F government, the Fed government, will probably be 10%, according to Mr. T. And I think eventually it will just go away. It'll just blip out. And the
mhm,
only thing that we will have left is Space Force. And that will because we're dealing with galactics and we have to communicate with them, watch out for frequencies, you know, be careful with each other. But it's not
mhm.
going to be the same kind of military that we would have been thinking about in the past.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not gonna have a place with the
Mm-mm.
unity that we're building
No.
and co-creating, and honestly is here, but just as far as like embodying it as a whole consciousness collectively is trickling in
Yeah.
quicker and quicker. So
We're just uncovering stuff.
yes.
And as we uncover, as the frequency rises, more stuff like comes out or off of us because it can't match the frequency. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why we purge, you know. Um, and we had a big purge the other night, and I talked to the ETs multiple times, and I don't talk to them constantly,
Mm-hmm.
but they were in battle mode. Like they were trying to mitigate some of the drama that was coming from the lower parallels. And they did. They were able to do it. And I'm sure they had help from a lot of
Mm-hmm.
souls, but it was interesting. And when I looked in, because it was like in the middle of the night, I woke up with heartburn, and this was part of my reaction to the energy.
Yeah.
Um, I asked the Pleiadians, like, hey, are you available like for a little help here? And they were not. And so I reached out to the Lemurians and they were in battle mode. And I've said this already, but
Yeah.
like you could see the blue skin, the black hair, all in braids, and just like focus,
Mm-hmm.
on what they were doing. And I'm like, just do whatever you're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
There's something else out. And I just asked my soul to help me with it. And then I went to sleep
Yep. Yep.
because it went away. Yeah. So it's a good lesson for me too. Like
Yeah.
what things can I utilize for my own body?
Yes.
Um, and shadows coming in too will interrupt your body as
Mm-hmm.
well. Like if you have a soul shadow that needs to be integrated, that happened to me this morning, and I had like a pop in the pan. So I was doing eggs and the coconut oil came out and landed on my finger. I was so annoyed by this. And I was like, so I go and get my finger under the water and I was like, who's doing this? Like, what is the problem? And I realized it was a shadow that was trying to come in. And it
Mm,
was a part of my soul that was more materialistic, more addicted to the 3D paradigm, and
mm,
needed to be healed.
sure.
But I had to calm myself down first before I was ready to do it. So
Yes.
I did that. I said, you stand still and my soul will, help you in a minute. But right now I'm mad at you and I don't want any other shadows
Yes.
touching my body.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how they try and get a hold of you too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, in my experience, sometimes it can be really subtle and sometimes it can be more in my face, and it's really a wide variety depending on if I'm choosing not to look at it too.
Right? You're
It
not
gets
paying attention.
getting louder and louder and I'm just like, ah. Okay, okay. But
Yeah.
also I think that's important the way you said that of like, okay, yes, I see you, I hear you. This will happen. I'm not ignoring you, but I need to be upset for a second and to calm myself down and just because that's real, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
denying yourself that moment inevitably then creates more shadows and things, right? It's like you're
Oh, it
not
does.
allowing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Or actually, like if I had tried to punish the
yeah,
shadow or something, like that wasn't appropriate either. But
right.
it was a hard no, you do not touch my body.
Yeah.
My body is what we're ascending. Quit bothering it.
Yeah.
But when you're talking to ETs, they bother your body too. They make you kind of nauseated. So if you guys get nauseous for no reason, usually that's the ETs trying to contact. So be aware of that, and it will go
Mhm.
away just in an instant once you pay attention. But I know
Mhm.
when I first started talking to them, I would be like nauseated for like 30 minutes, and then I'd be like, oh, is it the ETs? Oh, okay. And then my stomach would feel better.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, why do I feel like I need to puke right now? What's happening?
Yeah. It's just, I mean, we're doing things that we never would have even contemplated in the past.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's another thing. Like those are part of your gifts coming in,
Yeah.
and enjoy them because they're being
Yeah.
uncovered constantly. More and more gifts are being
Yeah.
uncovered.
Yes.
Yeah.
And similar to kind of what we were talking about at the very beginning of just allowing your body to experience different frequencies and energies, how it is in that moment, because your soul is so used to all this stuff, right? And then your
Mhm.
body is like, ow, I haven't done this before. Like, what is happening? So just allowing it to have that moment and get used to certain things. And I know over the course of time too, as I get more used to certain frequencies, the effects of that is lessened on my body. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I know that feels now, that I'm and sometimes it'll shift drastically into something completely different and it just kind of is it's a journey, it's an adventure. You just never know what you're going to get sometimes.
Yeah. You just know, you don't know. We are so in flow right now at this
Yeah.
point. And if I don't put it on the calendar, like, whoo, good luck if I'm going to
Yeah.
get it done. And it has to be really important. Like, I didn't put this on the calendar today.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, there's something supposed to happen today. And I was like, it's Whit. I'm supposed to do a video with Whit, you know? And I've been so spacey over the last few days, I didn't even put it on the calendar. So that's part of what's going on, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Here we are recording anyways. So
And
if
we
it's
did it.
important, I feel like it'll always come back around. Like your
It
higher self
will.
will be like, hey.
Yeah. Hello down there. Yeah. I see it as like you got your oversoul, you got your soul, you got your inner child, and your
Mm,
inner child is the body's consciousness, and your inner child is young, you know? So they're trying to pay attention to this huge being that's giving them information, and it doesn't always land.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. If you watch a little kid, like a physical being, little kid, and with their parent or guardian watching them and kind of trying to bestow some guidance or just like ideas for them to maybe consider. And sometimes the kid's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And sometimes the kid's over traipsing around in a mud puddle and just,
Yeah.
that's kind of how we are sometimes.
Oh, totally. Like you're totally wrapped up in what you're doing. And that's what happened to me today. Like I'm all excited about modular homes that
Yes.
that are very modern, and they come like on a truck, but they're not like one of those old modular homes. These are kind of cool looking. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, we might need some of those for the future. So I've been
Mm-hmm.
looking at them. So I was paying attention to that. I'm frying my eggs and I'm getting like this message like, hello, pay attention to me. So yeah, it was interesting. Yeah,
That's so
but
fun.
it's so fun. There's so many good things that are happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And also there's a lot of exhaustion that's happening because the energy is so intense some
Yep.
days. So
Yep.
when you have a chance to rest, just do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Definitely. And if it feels like, oh, I'm not used to resting this much, but you still feel like you need more, it's okay. Really try your hardest not to judge yourself for it. Again,
Mhm.
going back to the message of there's literally no action or inaction you could be taking that would make you more valuable or less valuable.
No,
So if
all the
rest is what you
perspectives.
need, yeah, if rest is
Yeah.
what you need, your value remains the same when you're resting.
Hmm. Totally. And it's important, you
Mm,
know. Think about how would God's source handle it? Would they be worried that whether or not you did the dishes, or would they be saying, do what you need to do? Would he be saying, do what you, whatever you want to call God's source?
yeah, yeah.
um, they would be like, okay, it's good. Just
Mhm.
chill.
Yes.
And a lot of stuff comes in when you're chilling out.
Yes.
There was a lady, and she's like a money coach.
Hmm.
And she basically said most people who have built wealth have learned how to have free brain time,
Mm,
because a lot of stuff comes in when you're relaxed.
yep.
And that's how you get downloads and how you get more information for yourself, and your higher self's able to get in there and have a talk with you. Like,
Hmm.
because a lot of times we're very distracted and not listening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I know that is something that I remind myself of often. Like, Whit, have you actually taken some time today to shush?
Mhm.
Ah,
Yeah. It's so good.
yes, it is. It really
Yeah.
is.
This was beautiful. Thank you
So
so
beautiful.
much. Thanks
Thank
for sharing
you.
all your pictures.
Yes, I
Yes.
loved it. I loved it so much. Thank you so much for allowing me to come and chat with you, honey.
Oh, I love it. Yes. So, and Whit is going to be launching a podcast soon. So keep an eye out for that. She's going to do video and audio. So
Hmm.
what are you going to put it on Spotify?
Spotify and YouTube, so
Okay.
both will have that element. Yep.
Yeah. And I did an interview with her. So, I'm going to be sharing those
Yes. I'm
with you
so
guys.
excited for
So,
people to hear.
yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Whit. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, honey.
Bye.